From the first state to volunteer troops at the outbreak of war to the last surviving Civil War veteran in the nation, Minnesota is home to many Civil War stories.
How am I ever going to read all these letters?
150 years later, these stories continue to inspire commemorations, both solemn and celebratory, across the state.
3 cheers for Minnesota! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
I'm very proud of what the task force, along with the Historical Society, has accomplished in the last 4 years. I think we did an excellent job of bringing programs, events, commemorations to Minnesotans today.
The Minnesota Civil War Commemoration Task Force, the Minnesota Historical Society, historical reenactors, and other interested groups offered many opportunities for Minnesotans to commemorate the war through a variety of public events.
I trust it's not expected that I'll be speaking much about politics.
Well, Fritz Klein is certainly the preeminent Lincoln living history person in the country. To have him come here to Minnesota and share that with us, especially to share it with students, was very powerful and very moving.
We must simply continue working to bring this struggle to an end.
I need to warn you, sir, these are very green troops.
And Arnkind is a Civil War reenactor. He knows how to reach students and children and does a great job in bringing the Civil War to life. Fort Snelling is very important. It was the portal, so all soldiers left Minnesota, went through Fort Snelling. The ones that did return all came back through Fort Snelling.
I'm here because I had an ancestor who enlisted here. I'm literally able to walk in his footsteps. He was on this same ground. That's really special to me.
From Pipestone to Wasioja, from Duluth to Rochester, books, special events, and exhibits all serve to elevate public awareness, not only of the Civil War, but of a war fought here at home, the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862.
As all the others are welcomed home, Dakota people must have wondered, how long will it be before we are welcomed in our homeland?
To mark the end of the Sesquicentennial, radio listeners statewide tuned into a special show from St. Paul's Fitzgerald Theater.
As we met, she put her arms around my neck, saying, "James, I will kiss all the boys today. I had 4 boys in the Army, and today they're all home."
General Robert E. Lee has surrendered his army at Appomattox. Bells ring out across the country, and a crowd gathers outside the White House balcony once again. Lincoln comes out on the balcony. He obliges them with a few remarks, ending with a request that the band strike up the tune Dixie. It's a favorite song of his.
Any talk of the Civil War has got to have Abraham Lincoln at the center of it.
150 years later, Lincoln's immortal words continue to inform and inspire.
I think he is, without question, the central figure of the century. Just an amazing character, and people at the time knew it.
Harold Holzer is the preeminent Lincoln scholar, and having him here was also very special.
A new era was dawning for black freedom in America. Lincoln, in his inaugural, asked whites in the North to bear their share of responsibility for tolerating the hypocrisy of slavery in the South.
He brings a very powerful message and does a great job of bringing Lincoln to life.
Also brought to life during Minnesota's commemoration, African American stories related to the war, including Dred and Harriet Scott's time at Fort Snelling, where they lived as enslaved people in a free territory.
Finding out that Dred Scott actually stayed here, it really impacted how I viewed Minnesota.
The Scots' quest for freedom helped set the war in motion, a war that tens of thousands of black soldiers helped fight.
The further exploration of African American history has been so valuable because as a kid growing up in the Civil War centennial period, nobody knew about African American soldiers. No one acknowledged slavery as the cause of the war.
Throughout the 4-year commemoration, Minnesotans also followed in the footsteps of our state soldiers in tours to battlefields and historic sites across the nation.
All right, then there's the space where Lee is.
Honoring the Minnesotans who helped win the war,
Hip, hip, hurrah!
and commemorating more of Minnesota's many Civil War stories.
May we all reflect on the heroism, the sacrifices, and use that as a model for our own endeavors in the years ahead.
Probably the most important thing that we did over the last 4 years was to go to small towns and either place a new marker or an enhanced marker for these soldiers that gave their lives during the war and had some very moving ceremonies.
In the years following the war, Colonel Judson Bishop, commanding officer of the 2nd Minnesota Infantry Regiment, spoke about the importance of remembrance.
Let us admonish our children and their children as they visit this place in the coming years, that from the contemplation of these monumental structures and historic inscriptions, they may learn and appreciate through what sufferings and sacrifice the Union was preserved in its time of peril, and has been perpetuated to bless them and their posterity forever.